The markets have surged after Donald Trump paused tariffs yesterday, but what does this really mean in the short and long term? Plus, these two altcoins are seeing lots of interest, even amid the tariff wars. This is your Altcoin Buzz News. Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Cody, and if you're new here, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you know when I drop latest content. Follow us on Twitter, altcoin.io, and as always, not financial advice, and wish the best of luck in your crypto ventures. Alright guys, so did not expect what happened yesterday to happen. Donald Trump paused tariffs on everyone except for China. So 125% tariff on China, so it went up from 104%, and a 90-day pause and a lowered 10% reciprocal tariffs for other countries. Now, we just had a whole thing a week ago about how he came out with these poster boards and said, hey, you're going to get this amount, you're going to get this amount. And then they paused it, and everyone's getting 10% for now, for 90 days at least. And China is still at 125% right now. So this is not a situation that I was expecting. It's very hard to predict these things right now. The market shot up like crazy yesterday. I think the stock market had one of its best days ever. Bitcoin shot up as well. I will say, though, I don't think this has necessarily changed my view. I still think we actually go lower. And we'll get to the points as to why in a minute. But just from a strict technical standpoint, we have pumped right into the underside of this, and we're still doing an underside retest. So this is still resistance, and we're going to get some altcoins in a minute, but it looks like we're struggling here, and we could head back down over the coming days. What I think happened is this is going to give a lot of big institutions just another chance to sell higher. And so I think today what might happen is, a lot of people are, realizing, hey, the tariffs are still paused, like, they're still coming in 90 days, but, we have higher prices now. So let's sell off the remaining of our stocks and crypto and whatnot and wait for lower prices and more clarity, because there is still a bit of unclarity of what's going to happen. So I do think this is still a lower high. I think this is just an underside retest. And you can see it pretty clearly with Solana as well. We actually drew out this level the other day. We said any pumps into New York Open around $120 is probably going to reject and sell off down towards this level. And that is exactly what's happened so far. It is starting to reject. Same thing with XRP. We said any pumps up into this level at $2, it's probably going to reject. It looks like it's doing that right now. So a lot of altcoins pretty much, rejecting at this point. Not to say it will 100% go down, but it is a higher probability in my mind. What would change that is if we're able to then break above this level. So if today we have more good news come out and we're able to break above this box here on Bitcoin and hold here and retest this level at around $84,000, if we can break above what this is called the point of breakdown, if we can break above this level, then I'll be a lot more bullish on Bitcoin and the rest of the market. We can see here in pre-market futures before New York Open, the S&P is also doing an underside retest. So we had this breakdown, we broke market structure, we came back on the underside, and now we're starting to reject again. So it's still a lower high, even on the S&P. So this could very well change at New York Open. Just like yesterday, I didn't expect Donald Trump to come out and say that. But as of right now, it does still look like it is a underside retest, and we could be going down. What I want to liken this to is, remember when Donald Trump came out and said we had all these coins that were going to be in the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve and the other crypto assets Strategic Reserve? So what happened was this was, the point of breakdown from before around $98,000 to around $95,000. We broke down and then we pumped, and we all thought we were back because we had, Bitcoin Strategic Reserve, we had crypto asset reserves. Everyone thought we were back, but it just ended up being an underside retest for this level, and then we immediately sold off afterwards, came back, sold off afterwards again. So even though this is really good news, I do think we are still in this phase of making lower highs here, and we just continuing lower, unfortunately. I do think ultimately we do come back down here. That is still my base case right now. So great, we had a very green day yesterday. Amazing for altcoins and everything coming back. But I do think we still have a little bit more work to do and a little bit more negotiation, more clarity to come out in the markets. So that is my case right now. Then we also have sentiment saying Donald Trump has just announced a 90-day pause on all tariffs, with the exception of China. This has resulted in immediate gains for cryptocurrency and stock markets as traders FOMO back into markets. This positive news, albeit a temporary alleviation to a still ongoing issue, follows a false buy the rumor, sell the news event, where this misreported tariff pause just 48 hours ago on Monday, and more disappointing news of US's hikes to 104% China tariffs on Tuesday. Fundamentals remain very hazy and hard to rely upon outside of the crowd's greed and fear working well as a counter indicator. In these unprecedented times, the market's overreactive nature to any breaking tariff news is a signal to watch. And then Miles has a pretty good point here. He says, a full summary of what just happened with Trump's tariffs, what I think happens next, and the big looming unknowns. So what happened? Trump orders a 90-day tariff pause with a lower reciprocal tariff at 10% for all nations except China. Just hours prior, Trump posted, it's a great time to buy, which is honestly insane that he did that. He raised tariffs on China to 125%, effective immediately. The trade war is basically the US versus China now. My take, the tariff can will likely continue to be kicked down the road beyond the 90 days. Main negative is that tariff resolution is now stretched into the midterm, which creates a slight overhang versus fully resolving now, even though it would have been immediately more painful. On one hand, this definitely improves the short-term outlook of the market. It gives us real runway for relief for the first time in a while. But on the other hand, more pain in the short term would have led to much more aggressive monetary policy long-term, i.e. rate cuts or QE. And for the unknowns, is the market fully pricing in a China deal? If not, and one comes, market will likely explode. A lot of this hinges on China's willingness to negotiate with the US, and how will allies handle the 10% rate? Will supply chains reroute fast enough to dodge China's fallout? TLDR, from a market POV, better short term, but potentially worse long term. So I think I pretty much agree with him. I think, what happened yesterday was, good for the short term, but I think now this pushes it now towards, heading towards summer to see what really happens. I mean, I'm sure, a bunch of nations are going to be, cutting deals before the end of the 90 days. But it really is now becoming a whole war between the US and China over tariffs. And that's the bigger concern right now. But moving on, we have the HBAR Foundation. We're excited to announce Chainlink CCIP is now live on Hedera. There's never been a better time to build in the Hedera ecosystem. And then we also have Mark saying this is huge for HBAR. Shinhan Bank, $485 billion, announced that it will participate in a stablecoin-based Korea-Japan cross-border remittance pilot project on Hedera. Previously, Shinhan Bank launched the South Korean won as a real-world asset, enabling faster, cheaper, and more secure transactions. HBAR is already one of the top 5 trade tokens in South Korea and are known to be ahead of the curve in crypto and technology trends. Super bullish, this could lead to mass institutional adoption in South Korea and Japan. So big things for HBAR. And also in Q1 2025, Solana stablecoin supply jumped 146% to $12.5 billion, placing it in 7th among networks with the greatest growth rates, while Algorand, zkSync, and Hedera almost doubled their stablecoin supplies. More of Chronostax and Bob drove the expansion. So we can see here, Hedera had 90.5% growth for $84.1 million in stablecoin market growth over Q1, which is massive for Hedera. Now, moving on to Hedera in terms of TA, pretty much the same thing. We are at a level of resistance here. We pumped into resistance. We are holding a little bit strong, but for this to be really strong, I want to see us reclaim this level around 19 cents. So this is the point of breakdown here, the breakdown before we came down here. So really, it could reclaim this level here around, what is this? It could reclaim this level here around, 18 cents. But that won't be very convincing for me. If we want it to reclaim an uptrend, I want to see it reclaim this level around 19.3. So if we can get above here for Hedera, I'll be looking to long this one. But until then, I think we are just at an underside retest, and it's possible we come back down here towards this 14-cent level soon. So that's Hedera. Then moving on, we have Not Telling saying Paul Atkins is now officially the head of the SEC. Don't forget, he's incredibly bullish on RWAs as he's on the board of Securitize. Securitize works with BlackRock, who also works with ONDO. Expect RWA cryptos to benefit significantly once the SEC gives the clear guidelines for RWAs on chain. My top RWA cryptos to benefit are ONDO and Plume. Also at the same time, ONDO Finance says tokenization is a hot topic at the New York Stock Exchange. The appetite for tokenization right now is very high because people look at the product market fit of stablecoins and say, what's next? ONDO's Ian DeBode explains, I expect a lot of crypto exchanges to offer stocks and the like this year. ONDO Global Markets is leading that charge, bringing stocks and ETFs on-chain and accelerating the shift towards an accessible financial system. Actually is not looking the best. HBAR is actually looking better than ONDO is. So we pumped into this little resistance right here around, 89, 90 cents. So we pumped into this level, kind of like everything else, and now we're rejecting. I want to see us really break above this level here around 96 cents to be more bullish, but really, like I was saying last week, my highest conviction trade for ONDO would be if we were able to reclaim this level, which is a lot more important to me as it's a bigger high time frame level. But I do think ONDO, you are going to be able to see ONDO coming back down here towards this level around 60 cents in the near future. And that's where I'd be more likely to pick up ONDO for a better, higher conviction trade. Right now, it's just kind of in the middle, not really wanting to do too much with it right there at this price. So I'm going to wait for a little bit longer on ONDO. Then we have AVAX, and AVAX Octane is now live on mainnet. The first in a series of updates that focus on performance improvements and optimizations of the C chain. Driven by ACP 176, this update adopts a dynamic fee mechanism on the C chain, leading to lower transaction costs and improved efficiency during high transaction volume. We also have Reborn saying AVAX Octane upgrade is now live on mainnet, and the results are absolutely jaw-dropping. The average transaction fee dropped from 0.001 to 0.00007 AVAX, which is minus 30%. Average hourly generated fees fell by 77%. Swapping fees were slashed by 97%. And the fee per 1,000 AVAX transferred has dropped 99.5%, which is massive. Now, Avalanche as well, coming this, pretty much pumping into just, this point of breakdown here around $18.64. Nothing we want to do too much yet. We really want to see it start to reclaim this level around $20, and then we'll start to be a little bit more interested. But really, this level has been, washed through a little bit. So I'd much rather see it actually come up above this level here at around, I'd much rather see it come up above this level around $23, and it'd be a much better higher low, I think. So that's where I'm waiting for AVAX right now. Unless we do go lower, which is another possibility. We could just go lower and then it looks something like this. And then the reclaim will be something like this, right around, $15-ish later on, which is another high probability play for AVAX. So not touching AVAX yet. It still looks like it needs to go a little bit lower before we go back up. And then lastly, we have Cointelegraph saying the SEC has now approved options trading on spot Ethereum ETFs. Whether that's a good thing or not, you can now buy puts for Ethereum, which does not help it because there's a lot of options that expire at the end of the month, and usually when options expire in mass, the price gets pushed a lot. So it's typically not a great time to trade at the end of the month because the price moves a lot, which is a pro trading tip. Then we also have Ali Chart saying long-term ETH holders have entered capitulation mode. For contrarians, this could signal a prime accumulation zone for a risk-reward standpoint. So we can see here, long-term holders are capitulating. You can see here, this is in the red, capitulating down here. As we've gotten down below, $1,400 and to the $1,300 range, long-term ETH whales are capitulating because you could have bought this around, around this price back in 2022 at the FTX lows. Now Bitcoin is still pretty high, around $80,000, and ETH is around the same price it was when, Bitcoin was at 15K back when FTX was capitulating. So not a great round trip for Ethereum. Like I said, I haven't been too much of a fan of Ethereum so far this cycle. It's come back up to around 1,600, but it looks like it couldn't even make it this high to make an underside retest. It's just so bearish that it's already selling off before it even makes it up to around 1,800. So ETH not looking the best. I do think we come down here towards this next level of support around 1,200. And then maybe around that we see some accumulation. I do think, other whales will still, if we get any more pumps, I think other whales will sell off into this. And then maybe there would be some reaccumulation around this area. But I think people are going to really start to, readjust their portfolios and try and find some coins that, for this next leg up, really find some coins that maybe have better performance so far this cycle. Maybe it's going to be in RWAs like ONDO, maybe it's going to be HBAR or XRP. But I'm not sure how well Ethereum will do now. Back in the day when it was still above like $2,300, I still thought there was a pretty good chance it was going to make new all-time highs. Now, it seems a lot less likely. So Ethereum has just been one of the coins so far this cycle that has really underperformed, and it's just unfortunate because it was such a big runner last time. But I guess, it's hard to do multiple cycles in a row with so much supply overhang. So yeah, that's the video so far. We have Bitcoin pretty much holding at $81,500. So far, it has been an underside retest. What could change is if more news comes out today and we're able to break above this level and then retest this level around $84,000. That would invalidate my claim that we're going back down here. So that would invalidate me. So if you see that and you want to trade and you want to go back into crypto or you want to buy more crypto, I think that would invalidate it and we could be going higher. So look out for that today. But yeah, other than that, that's the video for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you tomorrow.